Fire Speaks the Land reaches people through their feelings. And in this way, it helps in a very significant manner to complement their understanding and knowledge of the scientific side of fire. So the two go hand in hand, reaching the fire story to people through their emotions and then bridging that gap over to the scientific world, where sometimes in the past people might have not paid as much attention to that, but now we have their attention because their feelings are so engaged, and the scientific part of the story starts to make sense to them.
Fire has a voice too,
One we need to listen to as we live the story of this land. Fire speaks the land.
and the land speaks fire.
Fire belongs here. It ran free across this land long before people came.
And when the first people came, they used fire as their tool.
Fire cleared the land. It cooked their food.
It kept them warm and lighted the cold, dark nights. Gave them a place to gather.
And heard their stories.
Aspect of it, both the dances that taught ecology and just general forest species, talking about the difference between lodgepole, ponderosa, whitebark pine. Not only did you learn about the tree species, but how fire interacts with those tree species, and then how ecologically regrowth happens. And dance as a movement was a fantastic way to show that.
Walk into the woods, stop and look around. There's an easy way to tell which forest you found. There's a whole world of forest to smell and to see. Today we're only gonna talk about 3. Ponderosa pines stand lonely but proud. Lodgepole pines grow up in big crowds. Whitebark pines twist and it bends. High up in the mountains with a whole lot of friends. Thick bark, big trunk, branches reaching high. I must be standing with the ponderosa pine. Pileated woodpecker, white-tailed deer, arrow leaf, balsam root are liking in here. Elk munching bunch grass, lots of room for birds to fly. This forest is healthy and I think I know the reason why.
We learn in fire training that firefighters can understand 3 things. Because they can understand 3 things, we give them a triangle. We give them the fire triangle. And the dancers dance the fire triangle. They dance fuel, oxygen, and heat in a very interesting way.
Fire needs 3 things to burn: fuel, heat, and oxygen.
The fire triangle!
Fuel, heat, oxygen. 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 Fuel. Heat, oxygen, fuel, heat, oxygen, fuel, heat, oxygen, fuel. Heat, oxygen.
So my job is fire science delivery, and a lot of that we do through putting resources on the internet and writing these briefs and delivering those, and engaging, watching this dance, Fire Speaks the Land, and engaging really brought some new life into my job, because I saw a different way that we can disseminate key messages about science and fire ecology, and it's just a really exciting way to teach science.
When a fire is burning in the forest, the heat spreads in 3 ways: by convection, conduction, and radiation. Fire burns from low to high because heat likes to rise. We call this convection. That's why fire on the ground can sometimes climb trees. Fire also spreads through conduction. That's when a burning branch touches another branch. When trees are close together and touching, fire can pass from tree to tree. Another way fire moves is by radiation. Some fires are so intense, they throw waves of heat through space, causing objects that aren't even touching the fire to burst into flames. The sun radiates heat, which you can feel on your face. Good thing it's not hot enough to make us burst into flames.
And it really reaches out to people that might learn and take in information in many different ways. So having that movement, seeing that movement, and then even participating in that movement, it helps some of the different ways for people to learn and take that in. And so really reaching out to maybe people in a cognitive manner, so they're thinking about that, but then in their affective manner. So also I think hitting those emotions or those feelings as they're watching the performers. And then again, it just is a perfect blending of the science and the performing arts to really get across those fire science education concepts. And it really reaches out to people that might learn and take in information in many different ways. So having that movement, seeing that movement, and then even participating in that movement, it helps some of the different ways for people to learn and take that in. And so really reaching out to maybe people in a cognitive manner, so they're thinking about that, but then in their affective manner. So also I think hitting those emotions or those feelings as they're watching the performers. And then again, it just is a perfect blending of the science and the performing arts.
Ponderosa pines learned to reach tall and spread their branches high and wide. They send their roots deep into the earth and grow thick bark, all to resist the fire. When fire dances with ponderosa pine forests, it creeps through the needles and grasses and crawls up the low shrubs. These creepy-crawly fires burn the ground fuels and the little fur who crowd in under the huge old trees. The animals flee to escape the fire. Creepy-crawly fires keep the forest open under the big trees. Soon after the fire, the arrowleaf, balsam root, bunch grasses, and other plants send up new shoots from their deep roots. The animals come back to nibble in the tender, fresh leaves. Frequent low-intensity fires help the ponderosa pine forest thrive.
After soaking up of this wonderful program, I spoke to Karen Kaufman, the dance director, afterward. And I said, Karen, I saw my 60 years of fire research and fire management pass in front of my eyes in 1 hour.
This performance definitely educates the audience on how fire ecology works on the landscape in the Northern Rockies.
And after watching just the first little bit of the program, I realized that these weren't just dancers, these were really skilled interpreters. And they used choreography and some scenic enhancement of lighting and backdrop to tell this story in a way that delves with the mystery of fire and the complexity of fire and the intricacies of fire ecology in a way that the audience gets it. And it was...
I would love to see more managers, fire managers specifically, be able to attend this, because I think it was one of the most fantastic interpretive tools that I've ever seen in terms of describing fire ecology in particular, the physics and dynamics of fire in general, and then also even just teaching about dance. So it's a fantastic melding of two different worlds that...
So it kind of even goes beyond even the interpreter experience, where you're going to an evening program with the interpreter, so you have someone there. This is just even greater than that. When you have that whole dance troupe that's there, it just really reaches out and grabs you. And it's easier to retain those concepts, like the fire triangle, radiation conduction, convection, and seeing how fire behaves in the movement of the dancers and stuff. It's easier to understand that and feel that as you're watching than just reading a sign. I was very impressed with the professionalism of it all around. So the narration that was done as it was being performed, the music, the quality of the music that went with that, as well as how it was all choreographed and came together, and even choreographed with not just the performing, but then how dancers interacted with their audience. It was done in a very professional manner, and it was a great privilege to be able to see that and experience that. Also, gosh, if you could bring that level of professionalism then in an outdoor setting or next to an outdoor setting and have that, it could really grab you, I think.
People come to the national parks, they're touring some of the most amazing places in this country, and that's an opportunity to teach them about the ecology. And fire in the Northern Rockies is such a huge part of our ecology. A lot of species, both plants and animals, depend on it. So if we have this little window of people thinking that they're being entertained by dancers and then becoming engaged during the interactive part, they're learning messages about fire, not only the physics of fire, but the idea that not all fire's bad. Another one of my favorite parts of Fire Speaks the Land is in the very beginning there's this there's a campfire, and then there's a lightning storm, and the fire starts, and these three campers just become very concerned that they have to put out the fire. Now remember, these are dancers, and they're doing these elaborate moves with the bucket as they're putting out the fire. They finally put it out, they're so excited, they do their excited dance, and then it gets quiet, and then this scientist dancer comes out in a white coat and starts measuring the fire effects. And that's the beginning of a story that's played throughout the whole performance, that fire's not all bad. And fire, it can be good and can be very important. In fact, is necessary for the regeneration of several different forest types in this region.